This gameplay video is brought to you by very generous patron Shuffles. Sythis versus Tetsuo with a pretty damn good hand actually, so we're definitely keeping that one. We are on the draw, so draw into another Enchantress in Citizen Champion. I think I'm fine holding off on the land tax here because we've got plenty of land, so let's take the opportunity to get down a tap land here. Alright, say fertile ground for us. Our opponent might be holding up some counter magic, but that's alright, not the end of the world if we get countered here, so let's go for the Argothian Enchantress first, because playing our commander into that would be decent. Alright, now we have a Shroudy Enchantress in play, so our opponent's going to need an Edict effect or a board wipe to get rid of that. Unfortunately, passing through the turn there, we have a Scattered Groves, another tap land for us. I think it's probably worth getting down our commander at this point, so let's attempt that. Draw a card from Argothian Enchantress just for casting the enchantment, and we see a Doomscar. And let's play out the Wooded Foothills. I'll go for, just a dual land is fine here. We'll grab the Savannah, and then we can go for land tax, and that will draw us 2 cards to the Enchantresses. Alright, drawing into a Reliquary Tower a little bit too late here, but that's alright. Land tax isn't necessarily going to grab us more lands, so I don't know if we should discard the Scattered Groves, but yeah, I think I will here. We see a Mana Crypt from our opponent. Still doesn't seem to be playing anything though. So that is a Soul Snare. Let's go Reliquary Tower, and we can use the Fertile Ground to enchant our plains. Draw 2 cards in the process, as well as ramping obviously. And then maybe worth getting the Summoning Sickness away from Sanctum Weaver, so yeah, we'll play that. Keep our other Enchantress in hand until after we see a board wipe, most likely. Drawing into another land for turn 5. Archon of Sun's Grace obviously makes dorks. We can fish things out of the bin with Finale. Drawing into Academy Rector as well. With the 1 mana we've got left, might as well play a Soul Snare. And we've got an unlimited hand size here, so not particularly worried about how many cards we're going to be drawing. If our opponent's got a flash creature here, then so be it. We'll swing in with the Sythis. Need to start dealing damage at some point. Now seeing Obnixilis of the Black Oath, and throwing down a 5/5 demon with that. Okay, so we get into another board wipe in Vanquish the Horde, not looking to wipe the board anytime soon. Throw out a command tower, and I think we're okay getting down the Archon of Sun's Grace before anything else. And we'll play ourselves a Kenrith's Transformation. That can go onto the demon to get it out of the way. Okay, and we could wreck our opponent's day with a Seal of Cleansing onto the Mana Crypt. We draw a card to the Kenrith's Transformation. We make a Griffin token as well, or a Pegasus token I think it is. And now we've got the maximum amount of mana this turn for the Sanctum Weaver, so add white mana per enchantment we control, which is 6. So let's just get down the Academy Rector. And with the remaining 2 mana it can be a Seal of Cleansing as well. Not going to blow up my opponent's crypt because I don't want them to scoop on us here. Drawing to another land, a Hallowed Haunting is relevant as well. So we do see a plus on the Obnixilis there, but should easily be able to deal with it next turn. A Glasspool Mimic enters play, and does enter play as a copy of the Demon token. Even though that is an elk at the moment, it's only an elk because of the enchantment, so it does come down as a demon. We can still swing in at the Obnixilis though and go wide. So we'll just play out a Wooded Bastion here, and then I think we can go through to combat before anything else. Couple of Pegasus at the Obnixilis, and Academy Rector going in at Obnixilis as well. So they could save the Obnixilis here by blocking an Academy Rector and a Pegasus, but that does mean that we get an Academy Rector trigger. So probably not a good idea for them to try and keep their Planeswalker. Just having us lose a Pegasus, we do gain 2 life from that. And then we get down the Hallowed Haunting here. Obviously that draws us a couple of cards. Gets us into double mana in Mirari's Wake, and a Sun Titan will be really good after a board wipe if our opponent manages to get one off. So we'll go for 8 green mana with the Sanctum Weaver now, and we'll play out a Mirari's Wake. Makes a Spirit with the Hallowed Haunting, and draws us into a Regrowth as well. Noteworthy that all of our creatures do have Flying and Vigilance now, thanks to the Hallowed Haunting, giving all of our creatures Flying and Vigilance, so there's no argument to be made for the Sun Titan. So we can start whacking our opponent for a decent chunk, but yeah, like I said, I think I'd rather save it for a board wipe. So Regrowth can go onto the Savannah. That will add 2 additional mana, as well as the additional mana from the Mirari's Wake. And then just to make life even more difficult for a Grixis player, we say Sterling Grove, so they'd struggle to get rid of enchantments anyway, but certainly do when Shroud's on the table. Then draw into Wolfwillow Haven, as well as a Karmic Justice. So we'll tap that down for white mana, gets us some green, and we have 5 mana in total there, so Wolfwillow Haven can go on to, we'll just put it on the basic, and that obviously makes us tokens, draws us more cards and ramps us a little bit more. Seeing an Exploration, which is fine to play here because obviously we've only made 1 land this game, or this turn. So play down the Exploration, gets us some triggers for free pretty much. And it's play Yavimaya into the Karmic Justice. Okay, and finally we'll be done with our turn. So time to see if, time to see if we get punished for allowing our opponent to keep the Mana Crypt. I did actually count out how much mana they would have this turn, and it wasn't enough for the Ugin. Had they have got up to the 8 mana, then I obviously would have cracked the seal on the Mana Crypt, but yeah, unfortunately for our opponent, just didn't keep up on mana. Very one-sided, so we'll try another one. Sythis up against Tinybones this time, so I think this is a case of getting the Sylvan Library down as soon as possible. We are on the draw. Hopefully they don't have a means of having us discard that Sylvan Library on turn 1, or on turn 2 for that matter. Yep, there's an Inquisition of Kozilek. We do have the Eternal Witness that we might be able to grab the Sylvan Library back with. Solitary Confinement this turn. Tinybones into play for our opponent. Alright, and there is our next piece of green mana, so we can go for Eternal Witness. Let's get down the Sythis first and try and keep this card draw up. The Tinybones swings in towards us. And then it is Vicious Rumours, so 1 damage to each opponent discards a card, then mills. We'll just get rid of the Solitary Confinement here, I think. Noteworthy that our opponent does have a Castle Lochthwain available to them here as well. We draw into a Shockland, so let's go for a forest. We'll play out the things that our opponent knows about, so E-Witness, and we'll grab back the Sylvan Library, so they've got a means of targeted discard. They'll definitely want to have us get rid of the Sylvan Library. And then we'll swing in at our opponent for 1 commander damage. If our opponent swings in with Tinybones again, I will block with the E-Witness. Okay, and stuck on 2 lands, so we are allowed to get down the Sylvan Library here. There is an Omen of the Hunt for us. I'm going to go for the Carlny Heart Expedition first of all, and then we can shock in the Temple Garden. So I'll draw a card to Sythis, and our opponent's going to be in some pretty dire straits here unless he can have us discard our entire hand in one fell swoop. We'll shock down the Temple Garden. That triggers the Carlny Heart Expedition for the first time. I think this needs 3 counters on it. Yes, it does, so 3 more lands and we'll be able to crack that. But this is Sylvan Library drawing us into what is hopefully a land. Nope, Journey to Nowhere can deal with the commander though. Also seen an Academy Rector. Didn't point out that we had an Enchantress milled as well in Mesa Enchantress. Swing in at our opponent with the Eternal Witness. If they want to block with their commander here, it's fine with me. Well, missing out on lands, but does manage to get down a Mana Crypt at least, and there is an Inscription of Ruins, so we discard 2 cards here. So I think that can be... I think I'll go Academy Rector and Omen of the Hunt there. We do get to draw 2 additional cards this turn, of course, so yes, and yield, and we drew into Serra's Sanctum, so we even ramp ahead nicely. And see another Enchantress, so we will pay the 8 life here. And now if our opponent has us discard enchantments, it doesn't particularly matter thanks to Open the Vaults. And yep, our opponent sees that he's fighting an uphill battle here, missed out on mana, and we've just got too good an amount of card advantage against a discard player, so decides to pack it in. Playing against Athreos this time, and not such a good hand for once, so I have to mulligan that one into a 2-lander, which isn't particularly good either. Can't even play our commander there. We are on the draw again. Yeah, can't risk that one either. Into another 1-lander. Yeah, I mean, we just go for land tax with the Enlightened Tutor. It's very slow, but we've had some good games here, so get rid of Academy Rector and the Teferi's Protection and Emiria the Sky Rune for our opponents, so looking to get lots of planes into play. We drew, mockingly, into a Wild Growth. We're just holding up the Enlightened Tutor here, and hopefully we can start setting up some lands. We get down a swamp into the Orzhov Signet. We go Enlightened Tutor for a land tax. Obviously draw into that during the draw step. Don't try to cast it during the draw step or we'll lose the mana. So land tax down and we can start filtering out our lands next turn. You see the first plains, and our opponent, unfortunately, seeing more discard. Wait for him to Torak. That's probably as good a him as we could have hoped for, I think. Calyx and Darksteel Mutation being discarded. So let's go for a couple of forests and a plains here. And then we draw into a Banishing Light. So is our opponent's down to one card already, so I think it might be alright to go for Sythis, even though we're going pretty slow here. I think we can maximise our plays if we play these enchantments into our commander. And if our opponent gets rid of the Sythis, then it's not the end of the world really. About to see the Athreos come down next turn if they keep making lands. That is a Detection Tower. Alright, and it's a Vindicate. I mean, that went on the land tax, the damage is already done there. They've got 0 cards in hand now, so yeah, argument to be made for going for Sythis instead there. But we'll go for the, a land Wild Growth onto the untapped forest. Draw our first card with the Sythis. And there is a Zendikar Resurgent. So we just play the Sanctum Weaver for 2 green, I think is fine. And we get into another land. So Sythis Harvest Hand, swing in at our opponent for the first point of commander damage. And they're in top deck mode now. Not seeing any lands for our opponent yet, but they are able to cast something, and there's a Board Wipe doing some pretty good top decking here, a Doomscar. So our commander goes back in the command zone. Losing out on the Sanctum Weaver isn't great, but our opponent can't top deck great forever, surely. So we just recast our Sythis again, and we'll take the opportunity to get down a tap land here. And if our opponent manages to get the commander down here, which we'll likely see thanks to that plains entering play, we've got a Banishing Light with Athreos' name on it. So there is the Athreos. They will get a coin counter onto our commander. Another land for us. This can be Banishing Light into our commander, obviously pointed at theirs, and then drawing into a wasteland. So yeah, maybe cracking a wasteland would be alright here. Although we did just add 2 command attacks on our opponent's commander, so yeah, let's just go for Command Tower into Omen of the Hunt, I think. No need to do it this turn because it does have flash, but we can just F6 through our opponent's turn. And there's an E-Witness, so probably grab the Calyx back with that. Alright, our opponent just managed to drop a land again, so yeah, while we're still drawing into lands, how much mana have we got? Enough for the Zendikar Resurgent? Yeah, we do, so we'll play that out, and then we can still go for Wasteland to try and keep our opponent's commander out of play. Although there is a Prism Realm, so that is exile a creature, which doesn't deal with their commander while they don't have enough devotion to Orzhov, so yeah, we'll have to go for the Wasteland here, unfortunately. Just throw it on the Detection Tower. And yeah, that's enough for our opponent to scoop. Doesn't fancy his odds of getting out the Athreos anytime soon. We were drawing into a Hallowed Haunting next turn, so that's likely. Play the Hallowed Haunting, cast the Fertile Ground because we would have drawn into that as well. And yeah, we even had a Hall of Heliod's Generosity. E-Witness onto the Calyx at some point during all that would have been really good as well. Again, just far too much card advantage for our opponent to deal with, so hopefully you all enjoyed this revisit to Sythis. Decided to try and squeeze this one out before all his one releases. It is out within a matter of days during this recording, so hopefully you're all looking forward to that as well. I'll do my best to get out as many different commanders as possible for all of you, so please consider donating on Patreon because a hell of a lot of work goes into this channel. I'm tribalkai. Thank you for watching.